Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Deanna Palm, president of the Hillsborough Chamber, and this is our Small Business Solutions Series workshop. Very excited about our topic today, super timely. Before we do that, I would like to recognize and thank our sponsor, Hawthorne Farm Athletic Club, and Heidi Sivers is here with us this morning. Heidi, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I've got a little brief presentation. I hope this works.
Hi, my name is Heidi Sivers-Boyce, president of Hawthorne Farm Athletic Club and proud sponsor of the Hillsborough Chamber's Small Business Solutions Series. Generations of family have worked together at our local independent business. It's located right across the street from the Hillsborough Chamber, near the Hillsborough Airport, Hawthorne Farm Max Stop, and Intel Campus. Hawthorne Farm has been serving Hillsborough and health for years, but none quite like the last year. For my team and I, the extreme recent challenges have served to strengthen our resolve to stay healthy ourselves, healthy as a team, and healthy as a business. It's also strengthened our resolve to share what we do with others, and specifically business leaders. That's what's inspired our Wellness Minute for Leaders to share at this Small Business Solutions series. No business solution will work if you aren't taking care of the people behind it, and that includes yourself. Small business owners are notorious for putting our own well-being behind that of our clients, employees, and others who depend on us. We're here, and I'm here today to remind you of the importance of putting your own oxygen mask on first. Taking care of yourself will give you the energy, ability, and endurance you need to take care of everything else. A key part of this effort can be surrounding yourself with the people, tools, and resources that support your wellness, even in the hard times, or especially in the hard times. One thing we talk about at HFAC is finding your fitness enablers, the people and things that help remove any obstacles to your wellness and encourage you to keep going. For today's Wellness Minute edition, I want to remind you of something we often take for granted, and that is to make sure you're drinking enough water and hydrating fluids. A general rule is 8 by 8. 8 times a day, drink 8 ounces of water. Consider that a minimum, especially during this high heat. Me personally, I like to actually have some fun with this. I keep my water chilled and ready with cut up fruit that I can then nosh on at my desk. If you try this, just remember to keep napkins nearby. It can get a little bit messy. I think it's quite fun. Whatever works for you, make sure you get enough fluids and not just fluids with caffeine. Being well hydrated actually has a ton of health benefits. It can help regulate body temperature, reduce fatigue, improve mood and concentration. It can help with headaches, promote good kidney and bowel function, and also be a good replacement for mindless snacking throughout the day. I want to always close with a reminder to also make sure you're giving yourself some fun. It's important to relax and rest some too. And if there's anything else we can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out to Hawthorne Farm Athletic Club. Thank you so much.
Heidi, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your support. And again, the reminder of wellness and taking care of yourself and your employees, super important. And speaking of employees, we are delighted to have Ashley Hill here with us today. Ashley is the owner of Arnell Recruiting, and she is also on the board of directors of the Hillsborough Chamber and one of our founding members of our Black Advisory Business Council. I'm going to make you the co-host again. Ashley, if I can just pick the right, there, I think you might be the co-host. I think you're set.
Okay. Let me share my screen. There we go. All right. Admit a few more folks in the room. Wait a minute. Let me stop sharing. I think I shared the wrong side of the presentation. Let's see. There we go. All right. Can you guys see that?
Perfect at.
Yes. Perfect. I'm getting some head nods. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Hill. I am a recruiter talent advisor here with Arnell Recruiting Services. Currently, we cater to companies in mental health, but also we've expanded our recruiting efforts into the areas of trades, technology, and business administrative services. Our goal is to really inform our clients and our employers about the benefits of working with a third-party service, as well as picking a recruiter that fits into your culture, your mission, your goals, and your values. So right now we're going to do a presentation, hiring post-pandemic, how to overcome the hiring challenges through COVID. So get prepared. We're going for a ride. These are some things that I would like for you guys to take away from this presentation today. Job market data, identifying hiring challenges, how to locate talent and working with a recruiter, retention and turnover. I have this on here twice. Overcoming hiring challenges, working with third-party agencies. All right. So let's just explore this a little bit. And I'm going to ask you guys some questions throughout this presentation because it's going to go by pretty fast. But I really want everyone to kind of gain some understanding of what the job market looks like. So let's explore some of this data. I pulled up this because as a recruiter, these are some things that I look at when I embark with a company. The first thing I do is I find their niche. Myself, since we started in the business and professional services and mental health, those are the numbers I typically look at. But you might see your industry located here. And you could go and Google labor statistics. But what I like to look at here is the number of job openings, hires, and the total separations. It really tells us the big picture of what's happening in the job market. So with this slide, I took a little snippet of the services that I provide and mainly the businesses that I cater to. And I will tell you, it's pretty astounding when you're looking at these numbers. The first thing I notice is if you look at the total separations here, I'm just going to get my handy dandy pen here so that we can kind of walk through this together. If you look at the total separations for April of 2021, and you look at the number of hires, you can see clearly that these numbers are pretty close, pretty close in numbers. And what that tells me is that there's a lot of replacements, retention, and turnover in this industry, because the amount of hires being made and a total of separations, these are not new positions that are on the job market. These are replacement positions. So these are some of the trends that I look at when I start hiring, because it tells a story and it lets me know what is going on with professionals and what the market is telling us. Also, check out the job openings here. I look at April job openings of this year. And if you look at these job openings here and you compare it to the number of hires, you could clearly see that in April of 2021, there's quite a bit of job openings, but companies are hiring, but they're not really holding on to their candidates. So there's a reason for that, right? And some people speculate unemployment. They also speculate that some companies are not willing to stay remote. So folks are leaving, right? They're leaving their positions for positions that they feel deem is worthy for them. The next slide here, oh, sorry, this too. This dollar amount here is typically what it can cost a company in a year in regards to retention, turnover, and replacements when you're staffing for multiple positions. I did leave that part out. But that's really important because as you can see, a lot of companies too are also applying for grants and bailout money to kind of offset this cost, right? So that's just to let you guys know that. The fight for qualified candidates will always live on. It's a scarce market, so you have to act fast. Being proactive and really having a strategy around attracting the talent that it is that you're seeking for your positions is key in this industry and it's in this time. So let's discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly. The average cost to hire today is about $4,000 within a 24-day turnover period. It used to be about 60 days when you can get someone in the door. But right now, with the market and people are really trying to act as fast as they can and onboard and train folks and getting them where they need to be, it's about an average of 24 days. The average cost of a bad hire can range anywhere really between $2,000 up to 15 grand. So it's really imperative that when you're out here, you're really, really cautious with your brand. You're really taking into account of who you are as a company and what it is that you are seeking in this market. Because the average cost of a replacement is 2 to 3 times the annual salary and some. And that also indicates what the time to fill is as well, because you can, have a replacement or needing a replacement and it costs 2 to 3 times the annual salary, but how long will it take you to fill that position and how can you sustain yourself without that person being in those shoes? Okay. So what I tell companies is I say you always want to have consistency in your hiring efforts, because 89% of failed hires stem from a cultural mismatch. So I tell my companies, revise, review, and repeat your goals, mission, and values. This is imperative. It's who you are. And if you're hiring outside of your goals, mission, and values, it can be really tough, and you put yourself in the position to be a part of the statistic. So revise your goals. It's funny, I worked with a company last year and they had the same goals in place since they opened in the 60s. And I'm like, why is that? Because you're a growing company, you're not there anymore. So sometimes your goals need to change, or should, right? They should reflect where you want to go, not where you've been. And sticking to your mission and values, that's how you really find your talent. You can utilize your mission, you can utilize your values in a way that works for you, in a way to match yourself with a candidate that is beneficial for your company. Moving on. 3 reasons why people typically leave. Interpersonal issues, workload problems, and lack of recognition. This was a really neat article that I found in Forbes. And I love Forbes because they're starting to get really blunt with how professionals are really feeling out here on the job market. But I can tell you that the list actually goes on outside of this. But this pretty much sums it up. Interpersonal issues, workload problems, lack of recognition. These are your professional pain points. So when you're going out hiring, now you kind of know what leverage you have over your competitors, right? Because if you learn what your professional pain points are, then you can probably find a way to get them into your business and making sure that they're a cultural fit for you. Overcoming these challenges. Now, working with a staffing and recruiting agency is one, although I know the cost can be astronomical. Hire a recruiter on a W-9 or a 1099 part-time. It amazes me how a lot of small micro businesses have not utilized this. I did this when we first launched. I hired 3 recruiters on a W-9 and it worked well. We were able to get people hired. We were able to find more business and grow the brand. Also, partner with national organizations that fit into your niche. Use social media, even though I know that there's a lot of company policies out there that prohibits and ban professionals from using social media. But my goodness, we are all very creative and I'm sure you can find ways around it because the world of digital is now. And if you're seeking to find millennials, you have to speak social media. It's imperative. is very imperative, and it's free. It's no cost to you to have. And share the world what you're about. Again, remember, you're attracting people based upon your values, your mission, your core ethics, what you stand for, what you stand by. So you want to make sure that's prevalent in your recruiting efforts. Working with a recruiter or an agency. I don't know how many of you guys have witnessed this, but posting and praying is dead. That's what everyone is doing. I don't know a business who has a competitor who wants to be exactly like the competitor. It's ridiculous, right? So even though companies are posting and praying, so are the candidates. They're praying too, hoping they get the job as well. So it works twofold, but you want to be on the winning side and you want to have leverage. And how many of you guys have ever experienced ghosting, or you have scheduled interviews, you scheduled time to meet with candidates, they don't show up, they don't respond, you're upset because you've carved out a whole hour out of your day, and yet again, you've been stood up by a candidate, right? So we're really talking strategy and how you can really leverage your time, your money, and your efforts where it's spent as far as your recruiting. Okay. A lot of companies also go to job boards, Indeed, Job Hunt, Job Bite. There's so many out here that literally will cost you $5,000 or more a month to post your jobs and still yield you mediocre or minimal results. So put your money where it's worth it and grab candidates while they're hot. Don't wait around. Don't feel like, well, I don't want them to think that they're the only candidates. So what? You better grab them before your competitors do. Otherwise, you're going to be back here posting and praying, hoping for a better day. The market is hot. It is an employee professional market now. There are more jobs on the marketplace than there are employees. And a lot of professionals are actually leaving the marketplace. So it's very imperative to act fast and put your money where it's worth, not where it's wanted. Okay. Moving on. Some of the average costs for some of these job boards can be astronomical. Again, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn. I don't even use LinkedIn anymore because I realized it's a pretty penny. You have to really spend money to really maximize and have all the benefits of LinkedIn. And I, quite frankly, am not willing to spend that kind of money. I have better plans for the money than to give it all to LinkedIn, as well as Indeed. Indeed does now have a third-party service that they run to where they will actually help you find a candidate. Now, the thing is, I've had a company that I worked with a few months ago, and they were kind of upset that they spent a little bit of extra money to participate in this. And they were like, we got okay candidates, but a lot of them did not show up. Why is that, Ashley? Why do I get my candidates that just don't show up? And I'm like, well, what was your screening process like? I don't know. I let Indeed do it. That might be the first problem, because the thing that Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and LinkedIn will not do for you, they will not incorporate your goals, your vision, your mission, your values into the recruiting effort. They're just going based solely on skill set. And I will tell you that 20% of professionals lie about their skill set. So what else do you have as leverage in order to find that actual candidate for your position? Okay. So start thinking differently and hire smart when it comes to using these platforms. They can work for you, but you need to have a strategy. You should strategize around that. The best ways to locate talent. Deanna will love this. Chamber of Commerce. I like the chamber. It's a really great way to network and to find professionals, because there are a lot of folk out here who don't mind doing some side work outside of their business. And again, you can hire folk on a 1099 for a short period of time or for a long period of time. You could just pay for the hours that is needed. I will tell you for myself, a minimum hour that I recommend is 30 hours to locate a professional. So pay for 30 hours and get the professional that you need. If you're looking for somebody in healthcare, like a doctor or someone who has an advanced degree, then that might take a little bit more time, but you can always chop up things like, hey, I want you to help me find someone, but I want to pay you for 30 hours this month. We don't find someone this month, at least can you point me in the right direction to where I can locate that professional, build me a database of folk I can keep in contact with. It's so many things that you can do to leverage your local neighboring organizations that can really benefit and work for your best interest, as well as local schools, colleges, and universities. Now, here's the kicker with this one. A lot of Fortune 500 companies, they work with local schools, colleges, and universities, but only 2% in the United States actually work hand in hand with universities where they carve out a curriculum that is befitting to not only their brand, but to the student. So what are you doing now? You're actually molding a student right into your business. So, and there's a few accounting firms that do that. They pay big top dollar and they go in and literally will take the students because they, they've been branded under what it is that they're teaching, their mission, their goals, and their values. So those folks are a cultural fit and they have less turnover. So I always encourage employers, I know this is this can be very time consuming, but if you have the time and you have the manpower, really get involved with some of those schools, especially if you're in the realm of trades. Get involved with some of these schools, especially the high schoolers, and find a way to make an impact and a difference to where it can fit your brand and give you a pipeline of ongoing talent, okay? Also, community organizations, they have newsletters, advertisements, and sometimes you're able to utilize that for free. There's a lot of faith-based organizations who belong to other non-for-profit organizations. You will be really amazed at just who you can find right in your community. So get out there and be bold and be brave. Find the talent that's fit for you. Let's revisit social media. For me, I love social media. I've gotten used to it. I am a millennial though, but I'm on the very cusp. So I'm a little bit older than some of the other millennials. But I will tell you that during the pandemic, I've seen an uprising of more groups on social media, Facebook, Instagram, than I have seen participation on LinkedIn. I've actually paid to be in groups on LinkedIn with no one commenting, no responses, no words of advice. But I get on here on Facebook and let me tell you, folks are active. People are carving out their whole plans. People are finding ways to implement benefits, strategies, and recruitment, and people are engaging. And sometimes you get VPs from, I believe in one of these Facebook groups, my HR group, one of the VPs from Facebook commented in and said, hey, listen, I have a couple of questions for you guys. People jumped on it and he actually made a few hires out of that. So get active if you can. And if your job has policies around social media, the one way that I used to get around policy, because I worked in corporate, I had to create an alias. I created an alias. I went to Gmail, I created some name on Gmail, and I used that Gmail for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. The reason for the alias was two reasons. One, it is illegal. It's illegal to look up someone's profile before you hire them. Okay. Second, you really want to get a feel for what the professionals are talking about and engaging with, because sometimes they will actually tell you, hey, I'm hosting an event for all the professionals that look like me. This is the date, time, and the place. And now you get plugged in without even paying. It's free, right? And it's the easiest way to talk to a stranger without feeling any kind of way, because it's the thing to do. Everyone on here don't care about if they know you or not. They just want your likes. So be be creative and step out and find groups that fit the niche in which you're hiring for. Okay. Another way too is to find a recruiter within your industry. Again, a lot of us will work on a 1099 or a W-9, and a lot of the pay structures for recruiters range anywhere between $20 an hour to $45 an hour. Very doable. As well as, we are the ones who have the information you need. We have insight about your competitors, some of their struggles. We also have the insight about the professionals and what they think of not only your business, but what they're thinking about in other people businesses. The hiring market and the industry in which you're serving. We have insight on that. Again, we follow trends. We're paying attention to the data. We're looking and seeing how people are moving in the job market. Are folk leaving, not returning? Are they, switching jobs for more money? I placed a guy last month, literally the same pay, the same benefits. All he wanted was a permanently remote job. He didn't care about making more money, So these are the things that we have leverage over most employers that are not really in tune to what the professionals are doing in the marketplace. The challenges that some of the industries are going through. We have some, since we have insight with other companies, we can also let you know what some of the challenges are and how folk are overcoming those challenges. And as well as we are having insight on the events, the podcast, who's saying what's the new latest and greatest software. We're all into that because that's what we do. That's our profession. And of course, social media is where we leverage all of that. And again, social media is a great way to reach out to a stranger that you don't know. Okay. Versus LinkedIn. LinkedIn, sometimes you have to, be close to someone in order to reach out, or they'll make you pay. So find them on social media and just, give them a like, give them a share. That's what it's about. So what professionals are seeking? They want flexibility, remote jobs, advanced learning opportunities, perks, gym, childcare discounts, etc. Transparency. They want to know what the expectations are of them before they start the job. A lot of folks it amazes me on how unclear a lot of my professionals are when they start jobs, which this contributes to high turnover. If folks are not really sure of what their jobs are. Better pay over benefits, and of course, work-life balance. Now, if you're wondering, Ashley, how are you getting all of this information? Well, I will tell you, I speak to roughly close to 332 applicants a week. And out of those applicants, I ask, and these are the things that they're telling me, I'm looking for something more flexible. I have a child at home. One lady, she has a child who's special needs. She's like, I just need something more flexible. I want to work. I don't want to be portrayed as lazy, but I definitely want to know my expectations when I walk in the door. And I want to know how I can make an impact and what the company is going to offer me as a professional. Okay, these are some of the things that your professionals are seeking. And you got to always remember too, what I tell my employers and my hiring managers all the time is that everyone has experienced rejection, and everyone is someone's rejected candidate. Again, we always forget what that feeling is like, being on the job market and not getting a call back. You've applied for numerous positions. So you have to sometimes put yourself in the shoes of your professional and think how they think, because you were once there. And some of you all are on jobs where that's not your first pick, so then you can contest too, like, what? I remember I want to set a process to where when people apply, I'm responding, I'm proactive. All makes a difference in your recruiting efforts. And it is the strategy and the key to success in finding the right candidate for you. So let's stay connected. I will be more than happy to talk to anyone regarding hiring. Right now, I will tell you that the market still has value. Don't be discouraged by the numbers that you see when it comes to turnover. Be bold and brave. And if you stick constantly to what it is that your company is about, the core values, really use that in your recruitment efforts. And I guarantee you, you will be very surprised at the folk that start walking through your doors. And that concludes our presentation.
Ashley, thank you so much. What a ton of information. And I know that folks have some questions. So we have time for questions. Just unmute yourself. We're a small enough group that you can unmute yourself and just ask your question to Ashley.
Ashley, I have a question for you. First of all, thank you so much. That was really good. I took like tons of notes. I think one of the things I'm constantly trying to challenge my team on is to be really proactive in hiring instead of reactive, waiting till we're in a crisis. But with the pandemic, we've been so shut down for so long, you know, it's kind of like waking back up again and getting back in the mindset. So that was really helpful. We definitely had that experience last month where we put like weeks of effort into hiring people and worked super hard and got these candidates, but I was taking it very slow and steady. And then they disappeared at the end. And it was so frustrating because it was like a month of huge work when we have so much work right now. So we went back and I had every duck in a row to do my next hiring so that like the minute we interviewed someone and liked them, we hired them. So that was just super helpful reminders. Thank you very much. I'm wondering, because I'm so excited to talk to someone that's really in the Hillsborough market. If you have any, like, what would you say? I don't have a specific question. I'm just wondering what your observations are specifically about the Hillsborough market. I always just have my blinders on and see what I see, but I'm curious from someone who sees a broader picture of, if you were just describing to someone what the like employee pool in the Hillsborough market is, how would you describe that? And kind of what's happening now too?
That's a good question. Really, truth speaking is that a majority of the workers here in Hillsborough, a lot of them are, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to say, honestly, because a lot of folks have 9-to-5s, but still have businesses. So, you know, you're kind of playing that tug and pull game.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is this: don't limit yourself to just Hillsborough if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Try your best to think about what the professional looks like in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
When you find out what the professional looks like in your organization, then you can go and find them. Meaning, if you're an organization, I don't know much about your business, so I'm just going to just make up something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the business of, let's say, home health care, and you cater to the elderly population, but what makes you unique is that you provide certain incentives and programs to kind of help elderly folk gaining back their independence. Okay. So right now, what you're going to do is, as an employer, as a hiring manager, you want someone who not only works great with elderly, but you want someone who is adaptive to change. Because what you're doing is you're actually showing these elderly folks, bringing them from point A to point B. So you have to find someone that's flexible. And how I would go about that is two ways. One, I will go right to social media and I will go out and I will say, hey, listen, I don't need a few people. I just need one good person who is flexible, adaptable, and has an extraordinary passion for teaching elderly folk how to gain their independence. If you got the skill set, show it off, contact me. And people will be like, yeah, that's me. You see, it's a way to really come off and approach folk in a way that you want to be approached. You're an expert in your field. So how does experts talk to experts? The problem is that as a hiring manager, you have a need. So you're thinking need over strategy. Okay. So once you start to actually put the human mindset back into recruiting, and I say that respectfully because we do a lot of automation. But once you actually go out there and you say, how would I want someone to talk to me? That's how I'm going to come and approach folk. I hope that answered your question and kind of gave you some ideas on how you can kind of reach out to folk when when you're unsure and you're on social media and you're trying to be proactive. Because guys, this is easy. You guys this is so doable and it's so cheap. It could be it doesn't have to be time consuming. You really don't have to put a lot of thought behind it. It literally is all about maintaining your human interaction and standing clear on your values. That's what that's about.
Ashley, I have a question for you. You had said earlier, you're showing that data about, job candidates versus openings versus replacements. And is there anywhere, I guess it's a two-part question, is there anywhere to find, or maybe it's just job specific, but qualified candidate data as opposed to just open number, say you look in the Hillsborough market and there's 1,500 jobs and 1,500 people looking for jobs. How many of those 1,500 people are qualified? And then my other question is we've run into trying to find qualified candidates and have thought maybe our better option is to go, like you had said, through networking and talking to people that are currently employed and maybe, say, hey, are you interested in moving or switching and making a change of careers? But it's kind of, we're unsure how to do that. Do you just walk up to somebody that and say, hey, we have job openings, or do you massage your way into it? And if you're at an event that they're there as a professional representing their company, is that a no-no? I guess it's just so new to us. We don't really know how to broach that part of the hiring process.
Okay. Well, first thing I would ask is, what is your definition of qualified? That's first. Secondly, the way that I approach professionals, one is my shirt. And then on the back, I said, I have hiring qualified professionals. That's one way. Two, I have a business card and it doesn't have much on there. It's blank. The first side says, I think you'll be a good fit for ... And then it says, call me on the other side. But again, when it comes to finding qualified candidates, every employer has their own definition of qualified. So that's what makes it so hard, right? So what I do is I ask, well, what type of professional you think will make a long-lasting impression here in your company? Who do you want working for you? People are like, well, I don't want a jerk. I don't want an a-hole. Okay, that's good. But if your values say that you're a company who values equity, what type of person are you going to go after? You're definitely not going to go after someone who doesn't. You're going to go after someone who is in that space. And then you can assess skill set. A lot of times what we're thinking of is just the need. We have a need. It doesn't matter how we get it. We just have, we have a need. We need someone ASAP. But the problem comes in is when you find that person, how are you qualifying them as an employer? Do you have a strategy sheet? Do you have a scoring method that is befitting to your company? Because what we do, we actually implement scoring methods, and we show our hiring managers how easy it is to keep a standard in the plain level field, right? Across the board. So the same way you would hire a C-suite would be the same level, the same way you would hire someone as an entry level. It's a standard, but only you as a business owner, a hiring manager, could create the standard because it's your business, you know. And I will only stick to what I know. I wouldn't dare venture off. And if you're a guy in HVAC, I wouldn't dare go to an event of healthcare workers and trying to find a qualified person. You know, it's a waste of your time. You want to make sure that when you go to events, majority of the people there are the people you want there, or, you know, working for your company. I hope I've answered your question.
Other questions for Ashley? So I might just ask Ashley, let's just say we've been successful and we've hired a new employee. What is, and because of the fact the job market is so competitive, how do I keep them? What's the retention secrets that I should know about?
That's a good question. Retention secrets are, again, your goals, mission, and values. You want to make sure that you hire based upon your goals, mission, and values. Because if someone is a good cultural fit, then your turnover will be less. It's when people are not a cultural fit, they match the skill set to a T, but culturally, they're not really a fit. They're toxic. They're not professional. You know, the emails that they send out are just, you know, kind of abrasive. It doesn't, then when you try to tell them, hey, listen, let's do something different, they're not adaptable to change. We've all been there, and we've all worked with toxic folks and been in environments. Some of us, well, I'm not going to say all. I can speak for myself because I've been in quite a few of toxic environments. And it typically is usually 1 to 2 people that makes the environment toxic. And I will tell you, a lot of times the hiring manager is literally oblivious to how toxic the environments are because they're thinking one-sided. They're not really paying attention and focus in the morale of the company. And that's because you're not utilizing your goals, vision and values throughout your processes. It drives me crazy sometimes because even for a job interview, they'll be like, so tell me, you know, these are our goals. Have you read them? Yeah. But none of that stuff is implemented. The first day on the job, everything goes out the window and nothing is reiterated. And it's like, well, okay, if you're going to hire based upon this, how else would these goals, vision, values, how many other times will this stuff show up? And if you look at companies like Facebook, Google, I know those are huge companies, Fortune 500 companies, but their turnover is less than 5% because they really believe in strategizing around those 3 things. And as a smaller company, it's doable because you're smaller. You don't have a ton of folk on board, right? So it's so doable to do and to keep this into or implement this into your recruitment efforts because it'll save you a lot of time and money in the long run.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments?
I've got another question. Is there, we're small, small business, there's 6 of us. So opportunities for growth are not great, and or if they are, they're, you know, a long time horizon. Is that something, if you bring that up to certain people, it really limits your candidate pool, and then it also limits it on the other end that if you know, if you want I guess a good qualified candidate to us is somebody that's driven and wants to grow, but when you don't have that opportunity for them, it's an eternal, every 2 or 3 years, that person's thinking, okay, I've maxed out, I need to go find another job, and then you're starting over. Is there any way, is that just something we're going to have to deal with, eternally, or is there some way around that?
That's a really good question. But you know what, Brad, what I would really focus on is when you hire someone based upon what it is you stand for, you'll be really, really surprised. Because like I said, I placed a guy who all he wanted was a remote job. He didn't ask for more pay. He didn't even get more pay. He got the same thing, but he wanted a remote job. And his employer at the time was making everyone come back to the office and not offering remote. And so that's why I was saying that when you implement your strategy, think about yourself as far as your business and also the pain points of the professionals, because not all professionals are driven by growth. Some professionals don't mind. They want to help the company grow. They want to be there to help maintain and to leverage, provide leverage for the ongoing staff there. But it's all about your strategy and what type of questions you're asking in the interview process, along with how are you scoring and rating qualified candidates. Because what's qualified to you, Brad, may not be qualified to someone else, And so again, when your team identifies qualified, then you can go out and find you a professional who fits the needs of the company. And then, don't be afraid to hire contractors. For me, I do 60 days. And then if you're around after that, then I bring you on full time. I'll bring you on full time. But again, that's also another process. I go back and I review, okay, this is where you started. This is where we're going. And that's why transparency is also key. Setting those expectations early really allows a person to understand what they're getting themselves into. And it gives them a better peace of mind, being prepared to know what's coming up, what's foreseen, We all hate going into things when we just really have no idea of what's going to happen and transpire outside of that, So stay diligent, stay proactive. Really stick to your core elements of your business and define qualified and be transparent. I know you, Brad. I think you will find whoever it is you need. I know you will. And you will not have to spend a lot of money doing that. You can go to social media. There's, another place too is YouTube. It's a lot of folk on YouTube. And I know 10 years ago, this stuff was cliche, but this is what folk are doing now, and you'll miss the boat if you're not getting involved.
Ashley, some really great advice. Other questions or experiences that others might want to share with their hiring practices, or things that they might have found that have worked for them that they'd like to add to the mix in the conversation?
I have a question, Ashley. Well, as you know, I do a lot of social media work, so I'm happy you plug in social media. But my question is regarding, depending on business type. So I have certain clients that I work with that have successfully used, for example, Facebook to post job openings. Now, would you recommend that for someone in different, but they were like services, like cleaning, house cleaning and things like that. For someone in more of a professional service, would you recommend that they use that free service on Facebook to put a job post out there to try to find their qualified candidates?
Great question. And this is a yes and a no. A yes, saying that if you are trying to find folk, I think it's a way to post your job. Just posting it and again, praying, not really a strategy. But posting your job and certain groups that allow you to post your job, very beneficial. For me, when I go out and I'm looking for Black therapists, there are like 100 Black therapist groups online. Some of them don't allow you to post jobs, right? But some of them will. So what do you think I'm doing? I'm posting right where I can, right? And I'm getting the max out of that. Another thing too is when it comes to social media, you can't post and leave it. You have to post and be proactive. So once you post, you're going on there talking about the company, talking about some of the things that you guys are into, some of the outside or maybe volunteer work that you're getting involved in, and some things that you want to implement. Go back, keep going back. Hey, listen, I'm getting a lot of great applicants, but we're not quite there yet. Was just wondering if anyone knew of someone with this type of skill set that would be great in this type of environment. And people will start to share that post. So you have to keep being engaged. But yes, I totally use it, but know if you're going to just post and leave. It's not that type of platform. That's what an Indeed, a LinkedIn, a ZipRecruiter will do for you. It will still keep your posts circulating once you pay for it, but not so much Facebook. You got to stay in tune and you got to be proactive. One more thing I wanted to add to is currently right now on the job market, there is over 9 million open jobs nationwide. With 9 million open jobs, and we only have less than 2 million professionals actively seeking. So that's why the data is very prevalent, because it will show you what your applicants are doing. And then you can see how well or what's happening in other industries. And then that way you can learn and find new ways on how to overcome some of your hiring challenges by reaching out to some of these smaller businesses or reaching out to other businesses who might have had the same issues as yourself, and you can strategize with them for free, because it's just how it is. We're all needing to lean on each other. We've had life changes last year with staying inside. So now is the time to really get out of your comfort zone, really own your recruitment efforts and do something different. Don't be like everyone else, sticking to the same old, the norm, posting these generic job postings online and really hoping for the best. That's why I said, what's quality? Because quality is going to stem from what you put out there. And if you're putting out mediocre, poor, no thought put into your job posts, well, I can't help but say that's kind of what you're going to get in return. Okay. So speak to your audience like you want to be spoken to, and try to find places to where you can gain relevancy and finding a way to make an impact, because people will remember you and they will come back. And so when you're needing those qualified professionals, you'll be really surprised that sometimes they'll come knocking at your door.
Ashley, as you look into the future, I know a lot of folks think that the extra $300 a week that people are getting their own unemployment, that stimulus program, is what's creating that, disparity between 9 million job openings and 2 million people looking for them. And are you seeing, and I've seen data that runs the gamut of, that's 2% of the job market and that's 20% of the job market, that are you seeing in September that it's going to be a surge, and that we might, that sort of employee job market might turn and become more of an employer, job market where they're choosing because the floodgates have opened up? Are you seeing that might happen?
Actually, I don't think it will happen as soon as we think, primarily because a lot of these positions, again, are replacements. They're not new jobs. So that shows me that companies are not holding on to their old professionals and that they're not putting up new positions. These are all old jobs. But I do think that the economy will finally pick up, later on in the year, but we have to find the basis for why people are not staying put, why they're not satisfied in their current jobs. Because the turnover rates in some of these businesses is costing them to close. And when they do that, then that's more professionals on the job market seeking opportunities. So I truly want to say that it's kind of always been in the interest of the candidate when it comes to jobs. And the reason why I say that is because for decades now, the whole talk has been, I can't find qualified applicants. I just can't, there's not enough. And when you go to Indeed and LinkedIn, what I see is there are not enough qualified job postings to apply for. The job postings are they're just like, you know what? We don't even care. We just need a body in here, and a body is what you're going to get. That's why I was saying it's very prevalent to showcase people who you are, like a Facebook or Google. They show people what they're about, who they are, what they represent. And they're able to leverage that to their full advantage. But I'm hopeful that the economy will pick up. But to say that you're losing people to unemployment, that's 50-50, right? Some people are, losing folk to unemployment because that's where the ghosting comes into play, right? People need to apply for jobs to meet their quota for unemployment. And again, some companies are, that's hitting them hard as far as time management, but at the same time, some companies are being proactive in finding ways around that, which is so doable. It's, maybe that's just for me because I love recruiting and I find it very easy to do. But if that's not something that you're really eager about, then link up with someone who has the resources. Put yourself in the middle of that person network. Soak up the resources, soak up the game that they're giving you. And if you don't like it or don't want to apply it, then find someone else that fits what you're looking for. But don't be out here not getting the resources because somebody is. It's plenty for everyone to go around. So.
Ashley, thank you so much. What a great and very timely topic. I would love to say this is probably the last time we're going to talk about this. It won't be. Like you said, historically, these are the problems we've faced. It's just different circumstances, but the same sort of situation, right? So very helpful. And I would just, encourage any of our employers who have been struggling with recruiting and not, and finding the right job candidate, reach out to Ashley. Engage with her. She's obviously a professional that understands this work and understands it from both the employer as well as the candidate perspective. And I think that's oftentimes is what's missing when we're putting together the recipe of recruiting, is that we really only have one perspective. And so we're coming at it, with really only our own perspective, and really having Ashley's consultation in terms of thinking about how we need to approach the recruiting, aspect of it in these different and changing and dynamic circumstances. You are a great resource, and I thank you so much for all of this wealth of information you've shared with us today.
Also, I really want to say, check out our Facebook page. I post a lot of great articles. I've been showing companies how to create some strategy around the recruitment efforts, free stuff that doesn't cost you anything. So check out our Facebook page. Arnell Recruits is our Facebook name. Get on there and take the information. It's there.
Excellent. Thank you once again. Heidi with Hawthorne Farm Athletic Club, thank you again for your sponsorship of our Small Business Solution Series workshop. We will be back here again in 2 weeks. Hope to see you then. And please enjoy a great rest of your day. Thank you.